Hey, it's Keith. What's up? So it's been a while since I've uploaded. So here we go. I'm a 54-year-old, closer to 55-year-old raw vegan, uh, total yoga practitioner, um, seeker of all exhilarations that have to do with pursuing the lust of life and whatever, and just sitting here blogging about my extraordinary life. Not bragging in any way. I'm going to admit a few things right now that maybe I haven't talked about. Maybe I have. Don't know everything. Don't recall everything I've ever talked about. I was born crippled. Uh, I was bullied. So there's no way that I bullied like pretty much all the way until I graduated from high school. Um, so while sometimes it may seem like I'm privileged, I'm completely like self-made, and it's only the spirit that inhabited this body that's perhaps a little bit privileged. I signed myself up for a little bit of trouble. So 2017, my best year ever, without a doubt, in my entire life. Starting on October 8th, I started taking a yoga teacher training. But the backtrack on that, or the road that led me down that road, would be definitely a lot of the astrology of the year. We had eclipses in, I think, around February. I definitely felt some big shifts in my life. We had 6 or 7 planets go retrograde in the springtime. And then just to confirm like some of the things in my life, I did a bunch of like live shows that were like really important for me because I was actually playing live, and my musical projects become a bit of a studio project, and I've always been a live player. Did a bunch of solo shows, just me with all my gear with no computer. Super important for me. Then I went on vacation with my parents for 2 weeks, for 2.5 weeks probably. Stayed raw vegan the entire time, which was quite an accomplishment, really, considering that my parents are not raw vegan or just their kind of scary standard American diet. Good people. Love my parents awesomely. Then we had the eclipse hit, which was August, the Great American Eclipse. Let me get the phone steady here so I can the Great American Eclipse, which was around August 1st. I can tell you right now, there's like been so many things in my life in the last like 7 or 8, I think going back to 2008, where my life is like before or after those points, and this eclipse was a before and after moment. So about 1 or 2 weeks after the eclipse, and this eclipse was profound, and it did really shift my life in a radical way. So I'm going to like kind of tell you the story, and then I'm going to backtrack like sort of Pulp Fiction style about some of the things that led to this just being this ultimate profound moment. So about 2 weeks after the eclipse, I met up with a yoga teacher, a new yoga class in my local area. Yoga's been in my life all my life, and I've about 2014 I got kind of what I thought was serious about it, and then I just felt like there was no way that I could relate to it with like ever taking a yoga teacher training or a yoga intensive or anything like that, just because there's no way, no fucking way. Right, I wanted to not cuss anymore, but maybe I'll cuss in this video, because I'm gonna in 2018 I'm gonna start getting more serious with like trying to make money off of YouTube and trying to get more established as a raw vegan personality, putting out recipe videos. So I got to kind of stop cussing, which is not really that big of a deal. I just like to cuss. No way that I was going to become involved with this whole sexy, spandexy thing that like if I was going to do it, it had to be like it had to be the real thing, the real spirituality and whatever. So I met this woman, and she started a yoga class, and I started going to a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and nights. And then she said, well, come over to my house and do Ashtanga yoga Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, like early in the morning at 5 in the morning. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's great. Because I used to start all of my mornings early all the time. A lot of discipline involved with just switching back into that mode. And then after about 4 or 5 weeks of working with her, it was really something that like busted my ass big time, because well, there's just certain things that have come easy to me, and there's other things that I've had to work hard for. Like I said, I was born crippled, and I was sort of very uncoordinated and bullied, and so at about 12 or 13, I had to work really hard to become, like, to step into some athletic prowess, which I did. I worked really, really hard on it, and I killed myself doing it, and became a really good soccer player, and then my career was very physical, being a grade checker in the operating engineers, and there was moments where I just like kind of really stepped up to the plate and became like superhuman doing stuff like that. And then my biggest, like one of my biggest accomplishments was after having full-blown AIDS and just nearly being on death's door and having my body destroyed, of like making a comeback from that. But this Ashtanga yoga was challenging to things like strength and balance within me. I've always been super, 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 super flexible. So then on October 8th, my teacher said, well, why don't you come down and meet like my teacher or my guru or whatever, this guy Scott Miller who runs Western Yoga College. And boom, the last 3 months, like I'm immersed in yoga. And I mean, I don't want to, like, I've already talked for like 7 minutes about yoga. In a nutshell, my teacher told me that my progress in Ashtanga is like historic and fast, and that there's things that seems like I was born with, which is again some of these handicaps or being born crippled, of where I'm like reinventing my skeleton, or of things that are permanent. I think this has a lot to do with my nutrition. Like there's nobody. I said to Jason, you know, Jason is my ex-boyfriend, as society would call him, but still my partner, my soulmate. We're just not romantically involved anymore. I said, I don't think there's anybody doing like what I'm doing with the food, with yoga. Like, and he's like, nobody does what you do with food. So I'm really at this point investing a lot of like, this might be, I'm acting like this is a once in a lifetime third time to really reinvent my body and everything about me. So 54, I'm like, I find myself in better shape than I've ever been. While I was certainly had a lot more potential when I was younger, I'm in better shape now than I've ever been in my life. So I have a few things, a list of things I wanted to talk about. One thing I wanted to say is that, you know, this is everything in my life right now, yoga and just the connection and the wholeness. Like I've had these aspects of my life like all over the place, and maybe I'd be doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And the word yoga means union, and yoga's really brought everything together. And I was having a good think about this and just going like, wow, if something happened in my life, I would downsize my life so that I could stay immersed in this yoga practice. I do 9 sessions of yoga a week, and sometimes 11, and sometimes with my home practices, 13, 14, 15 sessions a week. And by sessions, I mean, that doesn't include the little 1 or 2 minute things where I stop what I'm doing and work on Trikonasana. It's kind of funny, I can do really advanced poses, but like some of the basic stuff that deals with balance, like Trikonasana, which is, what is that, a right angle, or a triangle, yeah, a triangle. So, you know, we are spiritual beings in a physical body having a human experience. So I think it's important to know that we're spirit, that we're bigger than all this. But the ultimate thing that you have to remember is that the body is the vehicle that we're having the experience with in this dimension. And for whatever reason, we've chosen to be in this dimension to like learn the things that we have to learn. And so I'm really putting my body at the forefront of everything I'm doing. Like, I think it's like the most amazing thing of being 55 and feeling like I've started like a new life. Like, what other things can I talk about? Okay. Yeah, so this is like astrologically, we have to jump into that. This is the close. So we have a lot of like interesting astrological events. I have completely reinvented myself since like, you know, I guess I keep saying 2015 is when I've been on this steady like climb of like really finding everything that I'm about. Of like, I've worked with a lot of like healers. I've worked with a lot of deities. And I'm into that thing. I'm not a Buddhist in any way. Buddhists are sort of atheists, and there's a way that you have to like get, you know, in the mind. And that's something I can touch on real quick right now. Is you know about me like leaving Vipassana. This yoga thing has like really softened my ego, and I'm sort of gonna retract a lot of things that I said about the Vipassana. Because I actually re-signed up or reapplied for Vipassana, and they quickly accepted me again. There's a guy in my yoga class, this guy named Johnny, who's a tattooist and a lifelong spiritual studier, probably one of the most sophisticated cross-platform spiritual people that I've ever been around, and it's like really brought in through this being this heavily tattooed person that's like kind of a punk rocker, which is something I really can relate to a lot easier, because it's no surprise, you know, that I have a hard time relating to anybody that's uptight, and I find that in the yoga community, I find that in the raw vegan community. So there's just an authenticity for me with that. And he was just telling me that Vipassana is, you know, there's nothing else like it, and it's free. And so for me, I was just like, you've heard me say this, of where like if something is 80% like fucked up and it's 20% good, maybe that 20% is what I need. Well, Vipassana is 80% good and 20% fucked up. And for me, the 20% fucked up is that I don't subscribe to the basics of Buddhism, which is a sort of a godless world. It's basically a kind of atheism. So I can just easily get out of it what I need, which is learning to control the mind. Along with the physical body being the vehicle by which we're experiencing it, is also the mind, because everything else is a victim of the mind until you can sort of control the mind, and or not have the mind control you, and of just like not having its sort of feebleness and its sort of lack of strength like running you and distorting your perception of life and all that kind of stuff. So what else do I got to talk about? Yeah, so this is significant events that happened. We had this eclipse. Then we had Jupiter going into Scorpio. It's going to stay there for a year. We have Saturn going into Capricorn. And then there's just a lot of stuff going on right now, which are just like a lot of like a first time in like 300 years. There's certain things with the astrology that we haven't seen in like since the 1600s. Then Uranus is moving into Taurus. An interesting thing for me is that I've been really sensitive to astrology. I think I always have been, but as I became more aware of astrology, I became aware of like why I was having these feelings. And then as I became saturated into like not only this yoga practice, but a steady meditation practice, I found myself like floating above it. And like a lot of people have like A lot of my friends said, you know, fuck 2017. It's like, I'm glad that shit's over. Um, Especially this, you know, around, what was it? Jupiter went into Scorpio in early November. I think from that time on, a lot of people have been having a lot of difficulties. I honestly haven't been. I'm not saying that there hasn't. No, I haven't been at all. I just been like very middle path, very equanimity, I can't say that word, equanimous. Um, wow, I took a lot of notes here. I thought I would like run out of, wouldn't be able to cover all of this. With the diet, it's been very, very steady. I have to admit to you that there's been a lot of building of my body, which when I get close to like bonking or like not having enough energy for what I'm doing, I quickly go to cooked quinoa. And of course I have no stove or anything in my house. So I just cook it up in the slow cooker. And I think I've had maybe, well, you know, I usually intermittent fast all the time. It's something I've done all my life pretty much, like before people called it intermittent fasting. But I've had a number of days where I've eaten a raw vegan meal and a meal of just of quinoa for extra calories for the building. My core has become really, really strong. I'm doing things that are surprising me. Not surprising me because it's like been a slow acquisition to have them happen, of doing headstands and doing all these core things and flexibility things and changing the skeletal structure of my body and building all these muscles that are like really tiny muscles, you know, between the bigger muscles that help with balance and like stuff like that. And so there's been a lot of at times need for like way more calories, way more sort of macro, good carbs, good protein, whatever. Yeah, I've been talking for 17 minutes. It doesn't seem like, seems like I should have had like more to say. There's a lot more I could say, but it's a first video back for me. You know, I did my Samhain spell jar. I feel like probably a lot of things that are in that jar I've already like accomplished just in a couple of months. So this is my year in review. I have a bunch of videos that I posted up on YouTube, but I haven't made them publicly available yet. I'll put those out like tomorrow and the next day. So if you're just chilling at home, you can watch some of my stuff. One thing talking about me being like happily spiritually confused and a few other things. So, oh, there's a bunch of supplements down here I was going to talk about. We could save that for talking in another video. Like maybe I'll upload another video tonight or tomorrow or something like that. I don't really know. All right, it's Keith. Support me by supporting my music. Links in the drop down. Like, share, and subscribe. And I really should be documenting a lot more of this. I will talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.